So this is Lewis, and I'm still currently in fucking Hemlock, New York, later in the day, which is going to be a long day. Hopefully, the client in this case just says, just go home, because I've had enough. But at least for now, I wanted to talk about a certain video that was put out by a so-called journalist named Jordan Sheridan, who is a so-called journalist from TYTPolitics. If you're familiar at all with TYTPolitics, it's affiliated with the Young Turks, and Jordan Sheridan is the field journalist for the Young Turks. And unfortunately, he is not as good as I thought he was about a month earlier, in my estimation. For when I started watching that channel. He's a little bit of a predictable progressive journalist in the same way that Emma What's-Her-Face, that is also affiliated with the channel, she's also a bit predictable in that she is a bit stereotypical for a progressive. She is from a upper-class family who has hosted fundraisers for big-time New York politicians. So she has a lot of time at her disposal, being from an upper-class family, and so she has decided to spend her life virtue signaling. And Jordan Sheridan, I can't speak to whether he comes from a wealthy family or not. If I had to guess, maybe not. Maybe middle class, maybe not. I don't really know. But he is stereotypical and predictable in his progressive positions, in that he is a professional propagandist in terms of being a journalist, at least in how he covered the issue of the Dakota Access Pipeline, which has just been wrapped up with a denied permit from President Obama. President Obama, through him, he declined the permit for the corporation in the Dakota Access Pipeline to continue construction, so they're done with that pipeline, at least for the time being. So I actually got a couple emails about the Dakota Access Pipeline, which is not normal. Normally no one really goes to that length to ask me to cover something. If someone asks me to cover something, it's usually on Twitter or in a comment section or maybe a message on YouTube, but occasionally I'll get an email requesting that I cover a specific topic, and with the Dakota Access Pipeline, I actually got 2 emails about that, which is abnormal. But I declined to do so because it's a complicated issue. I'll cite a video that I watched from another YouTuber who did a decent job at covering it, for my estimation at least. I forget the name of the YouTuber. You'll have to forgive me for that. He's a bit known to my understanding. But he did a pretty adequate job in covering that issue and the issues with it, and how progressives are kind of going out of their way to make this a ridiculous issue when it's not. There seems to be a lot of questions as to the conduct of the so-called protesters. There's a question as to who is lighting fires at the scene, whether it's protesters or the police. If you listen to progressives, it is the police, who are essentially fascist, Gestapo fucking lunatics, just, unloading fucking shotgun rounds at random civilians and lighting fires and spraying people with hoses on cold winter's nights, for the sake of freezing people to death because they're malevolent in every conceivable way. And if you listen to the corporation, there's nothing to see here, and that, pretty predictable shit. But there's a question as to whether the corporation has the proper permits to continue construction. There's a question as to whether the so-called protesters actually own the property that they claim to own. There's a lot up in the air with the Dakota Access Pipeline, and it's why I declined to actually cover it. There was so much contradictory information about what was going on and about who was in the right that it's just a bit unknown to what exactly was going on. The protesters seem to be propagandizing. There seem to be a lot of white anarchist-type protesters there that were not Native American. The Native American tribe, there seemed to be a contradictory story of whether the tribe was actually all in or not. There seemed to be elements of the tribe that were not necessarily against the pipeline, and then there were some that were against it and protesting, but they were lying about whether this was actually going to influence their water supply or not. Or, there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of back and forth, and I didn't really know who to believe and who not to. But I knew enough to be skeptical of the progressives covering this. And sure enough, leading all the way back to what I was, how I started this, Jordan Sheridan was covering this and doing so in such a way to where, you're watching essentially from his perspective a snuff film of the white man cracking down on Native Americans for no other reason other than malevolence and white supremacy. His coverage was out and out propaganda. I know that in this case I should showcase it and prove that what I'm saying is true. Maybe I'll show some snippets of what he did, but it's very clear that he did not cover this objectively. Very clear.
Every person here is unarmed. Every person here is peaceful. They're trying to pray. Officers! I'm a journalist. You have unarmed people here nowhere near you, but you're claiming they are being aggressive. You're standing on where their ancestors are buried. You're on Army Corps land, which is against the law. Can you tell me how they're being aggressive towards you? That none of them have guns. All they have are prayer, signs, and all they have is themselves. You are the ones with guns. You are the ones with tear gas. Those are chemical weapons. No, you are standing where their ancestor buried. How would you like it? How would you like it if they were standing where your grandmother is buried? There is no compromise. You are on Army Corps land. You're not supposed to be on Army Corps land.
And if you want to go watch his videos, you can go do that, but I'm not going to waste your time with it. Just take that for my opinion, okay? I'm not going to go through the lengths that I could to prove to you that this was propagandistic, but it was. I watched at least four or five of his videos specifically on this topic because he's been there for like a fucking month, and they were all propagandistic. The one video I want to talk to you about is the video where he dressed himself up. He went to like Walmart or something, dressed himself up to look more local, to fit in among, rural part of North Dakota, and put on an accent that he infrequently used, it seems, based on his recording, and talked to white people. And so the reason why he talked to white people was to gauge their opinion of the Indians. And based on his reaction in the comment section, you would think that he was literally talking to Klans members.
I am in Civilization today in Bismarck. If you recall, Bismarck is the white supremacist area that I went undercover in last week at a Walmart and mall to interview supporters of the Dakota Access Pipeline. Was from Real America News, and I asked them what they thought.
You would think that the people he talked to were like, you know what? I have a lot of white pride and fuck these natives, fuck the Redskins or fuck Reds or what. I don't even know a proper slur for Native Americans, but he talked to, a few people, most of whom didn't really have all that much knowledge as to what was going on, barely had an opinion on it. He talked to a couple people that had an opinion on it. Some more sympathetic than others in terms of being in favor of the native protest and then others against it. But a lot of mixed opinions, mixed messages, and yet you look at the comment section, you listen to Jordan, and you get the idea that, literally, you're supposed to be listening to white supremacists. And the one guy that people fixated on was this guy, and it was the guy they used as the image for the video, like the header image for the video, the thumbnail, as it's called. This guy right here with the hat. And they made him seem like a literal Klansman. Like, this guy is an out-and-out white supremacist. And yet, what he said was inarticulate for the most part, as most of these people were, because most of these people don't have experience with public speaking and being interviewed. But this guy gave one of the best answers that you could give. Like, in terms of what, the answers that I saw here and listened to, I sympathize and see my opinions reflected the most with this guy.
What's going on? I mean, if you want to get down to the business of what they're doing, I don't know. I think it's wrong. you know? I mean, it didn't go through, you know, there's a map. It's black and white. It didn't go through the reservation. You know, there's probably 500 pipelines above it. And, you know, where was all the hell raising then?
Well, they say it's their land, and as per the treaty, that and the government stole it.
Okay, well, I don't know. How long are we going to live in the past? You know, I mean, but then you want all this other stuff, and that's today, and then on the other hand, it's for the treaty, and then tomorrow it's don't worry about the treaty, we're equal citizens, and then tomorrow it's we're indigenous people, and we want all these rights, and it's frustrating, you know? I mean, I'm not racist. I hate everybody the same, you know? And
It's a good outlook. Hate everyone the same.
Yep. I mean, if you wake up, go to work, pay your taxes, you're just another human being, you know?
And, do you have any problem that it was originally supposed to go through Bismarck, and they rerouted it to go through the native land?
They didn't reroute it to go. It didn't go through the native land. As far as
Closer to their land.
No, I don't. You know, it still didn't go through. I don't know. You know, that's just it. I don't know the facts. That protest has nothing to do with here. You know, they came here and raised a bunch of hell in the mall, and you know they're walking down Main Street blocking roads and all this other shit. No, that's not how you do it. That is their problem on the negative. That's how they're getting negativity. You know, that's how they're making the hate, because you're pissing me off blocking the road. You know, if I got a sick kid, or even if I want to go to the post office and I can't get through without getting harassed, we're going to throw down.
What do you think if they were to say to you, you might be inconvenienced, but you're pissing them off, that you're jeopardizing their water?
I'm not doing anything.
No, not you, but the pipeline.
Yeah, but I'm not the pipeline. Nobody in this town is the pipeline. You know, all this town did was had a meeting, a civilized meeting, and decided they didn't want it to go wherever they wanted it here. Now, I didn't even know that there was that option. You know, I found out about that option just a week and a half ago on Facebook.
Because it could look like they didn't want to put it in jeopardy of some white folks and then put it downstream right on native land.
I don't think so. I don't think race. I just think we are too far forward in American civilization, in our culture, to have anything to do with race. I can't see Hovind or any of our leaders saying, no, let's put it down by the Indians, because fuck the Indians. You know, I don't see it. You know, it's just like Trump's a racist, Trump. No, he said we're going to get rid of illegal immigrants.
Well, Trump last year did tweet, just give them casinos. They love their casinos.
Well, they do.
And it's because this guy is approaching the situation from a skeptical and egalitarian position. Despite what you read in the comment section, despite what you'll see, you know, the reaction to this guy being as, oh man, this guy's just a total white supremacist. This guy's a total retard. When it's like, no, he's actually arguing for something that is egalitarian, arguing for something that's fair and justified. Everyone else in this situation, all the progressives, okay, they're arguing for separate but equal. Or, you know, and that's at the best, separate but equal. Or at worst, just special rights for the natives when it's, you know, good for them. You know, if the natives want to use their privileges that they have as a special class in America, on the day that they want to use those special privileges, they get to use them. On other days when it's, oh no, we're all equal and we're all egalitarian and we have an equal society and we want to see ourselves represented in this society of which we don't pay taxes, we don't pay any taxes. No income tax, no property tax, no taxes, no sales taxes, so long as we're on a reservation. No taxes. We have our own government, we have our own representation, we have our own infrastructure, and we pay through our own ends, through whatever privileges that we have, whether it's casinos or businesses or gas or cigarettes, whatever. Whatever it is that we're using to generate income, we're using that income to spend on our own infrastructure through our own government. It depends on the day when the natives actually want to use their privileges or not. And the progressives are useful idiots, or they are, a fifth columnists, essentially. They actively want to help the Indians at the expense of everyone else. If you're a hardworking, tax-paying American citizen, and you're like me, and you resent the fact that natives get away with fucking robbery, they get away with everything, they can do whatever the fuck they want, they operate on both sides of the law all the time, and they're constantly pretending as though they're the fucking greatest victims of the fucking world, despite all the privileges that they get, despite the fact that they have monopolies over businesses. Okay, I can't operate a casino. They can. I can't operate a casino. Natives can. I can't. They can benefit through their government by getting different subsidies through those casinos. I can't do that. I can't claim to have those privileges. If I were a Native American, I could submit a resume and get a better paying job at a casino than if I were white. That is a fact. I will get preferable treatment at a Native American casino if I were Native than if I were not, if I were any other race. That is a privilege. I don't like those privileges. I don't like separate but so-called equal. I don't like separate societies. I don't like these small little political enclaves. I don't like this. I don't like all of this. And this guy with the hat, him and I are on the same page. We don't like this. We want to live in an egalitarian society where everyone is represented by one government. Not all these different fucking governments, one government. No political enclaves, one government that treats everyone equally. Everyone has the same rights. Everyone has the same privileges. Everyone obeys the same laws. That's what him and I want. We want to live in an egalitarian society because that is what is just. Not collective rights, not special rights, individual rights. And we want them to be equal. But because of one quip that this guy uses, a joke, to express his opinion, his values, where he says, I hate everyone equally, as a joke to express his egalitarian values, Jordan Sheridan and the progressives use this as a moment to say, no, this guy is a white supremacist. When no, you guys are the ones that are fucking taking advantage of special rights for natives and throwing it in the faces of white people who resent it. And fairly so, justifiably so, resent the fact that other people, based on their race, get to do whatever the fuck they please, get to operate on both sides of the law when it's convenient for them to do so. They switch. Whether it's, I want fucking Bernie Sanders, I want you to come represent me. Come represent me. I pay no taxes. I pay nothing into the system. I pay for my own infrastructure because I have my own government, who have our own special laws, our own special privileges, but I want representation by you right now because I'm native. Or, no, actually, we have our own special privileges, our own special laws, our own special rights as natives, and you can fuck off. And we're not paying any taxes. We're not paying nothing. We don't vote. We don't care. We don't want to. You're not our representative, so we don't care. We're not paying shit. And despite what I've said thus far, I need you guys to understand that there are many natives that do not like the current system as it exists, that do understand that there is a disparity here. And I'll get to it in a second, but there's a disparity between, general American society and native governments and that society. There's a disparity there, and natives recognize it. And I'm definitely aware of this because when I was in high school, I went to school with a bunch of different native kids, and we talked about this because it annoyed me then. And it annoys them too. Of the people that I knew that were native, that went to my high school, they weren't in favor of it. They didn't like it. They saw it as being segregated. You have the native part of the country, and then you have the, the average American, everybody else. And they didn't like it because it wasn't egalitarian. I had a friend of mine who I had a few classes with. It wasn't so much more of just a general friend. We didn't really hang out after high school. Him and I talked about this several times, and he completely opposed it. He said the first thing that he was going to do after he graduated high school was move off the res. And I completely understood why. It is a terrible culture. It has, in my area, it has a problem with drug abuse, alcoholism, poverty. And this is where we get to the other disparity. Despite all the income they're making off all these casinos and all these different businesses, it's going into the hands of a few people, into hands of oligarchs, not to the people, not to the natives that live on the reservation. They benefit from the different, not paying income tax, not paying property tax or sales tax. They can avoid those taxes, but the money that's made from these casinos and that, they're not actually handed down in the way that you think they would be to natives that live there. You can get hired easier at those businesses, but outside of that, all the money that's being generated from these businesses that are not paying any fucking taxes are going into the hands of oligarchs. Period. There's no equivocation in that. It's going into the hands of oligarchs who run their governments or pay off the government officials that run their governments. And so that's a society with deep disparity, where you have oligarchs and you have everyone else. And you will see on reservations, if you look at the numbers, there is rampant poverty, rampant income disparity, rampant fucking issues with all sorts of things. Alcoholism, drug addiction, poverty, all of that. Criminality, too. There is a serious problem with Native American reservations. And I think they should be dissolved. I think that the cons of having the segregated societies far outweigh any kind of racial white knighting, virtue signaling for what happened hundreds of years ago. I don't think that this is fair to anyone involved. It's not fair to the average native person who is living under the thumb of oligarchs. It's not fair to white, black, or any other general American who sits there and sees special fucking treatment for people based on race and race alone. That's not fair. That's not just. So I know I've been talking for a little bit now, but it's just something that annoys me. It's just something that, this isn't how the Dakota Access Pipeline should have been covered. But it was. This was covered from the position of racial politics, from identity politics, when it shouldn't have been. This should have been an environmental issue. This should have been an issue that was covered from the perspective of climate change being an issue, dirty energy and the problem that exists with that, the fact that this oil is going to be outsourced and or exported, I should say, and we can't do anything about that because they can charge higher prices elsewhere. And, we have an ongoing issue with importing Middle Eastern oil because it's cheap, and there's not much the average man can do about that because, if you change that system, I fear that the gas prices are going to go up like they did before, and it's going to be harmful to the average American, and that it's, the rich and the wealthy are not going to, have a problem paying these things. It's going to be a class issue. They don't care if gas is $5 a gallon. It's going to be the poor guy and small business owners that are going to suffer because of that. I can't stand the fact that progressives haven't learned. They continue to race bait and not give a shit about egalitarianism, principles that should be defined as American. We should be defining egalitarianism as an American ideal. We should be fighting for an egalitarian society as best that we can. As close that we can get to an egalitarian society, we should be fighting for that, for equal opportunity, for everyone being constrained by the same laws. We shouldn't have people operating outside of the laws. That should not, and that being based on race, that should not be happening, but it is happening. Unequal treatment is not fair. But it seems to me that with progressives, and I'm going to lump Kyle Kulinski in here as well, because I'm not letting him, I think he's included in this. I doubt he would say the same thing that I'm saying. Sargon's going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Fuck you, Sargon. You're wrong. Kyle's a fucking progressive. He's a fucking piece of shit. And I guarantee you, he would say the exact same as Jordan Sheridan. He's a TYT guy too. And he's going to say, oh no, it's fine. Are you against affirmative action? What are you, a racist? You're against fucking natives being able to operate outside the law? What are you, a racist? That's the progressive position. Egalitarianism is not progressive. Progressives are not egalitarian. That is fact. I dare you to find me one progressive, self-described progressive, that is in any way consistent on the principle of egalitarianism. Find me that fucking person. Find me that person that is not going to be bowing and virtue signaling to quotas, to special fucking rights, to more women in tech, more women CEOs, and Native Americans having special rights. Find me the fucking progressive that is against each one of those things. You won't find them. They don't exist, because that is against progressive politics. It is against it. Special rights for collective classes of people. That is what progressives believe in whole cloth. And I am confident in saying that. So that's an ongoing issue, and it's why I will never be a progressive and why I consider progressivism to be a dead ideology. Because the only reason this whole fucking thing with the Dakota Access Pipeline worked out is because they had fucking Obama there to do it. That's the only reason why. Because this was completely unlike Keystone. Keystone was handled better than this. This was a total shit show. And they somehow lucked out, in my opinion, in this matter. If you believe in individual rights, if you are individualistic in your thinking, if you believe in values that that coincide with liberal principles, if you believe in those things, you are not a progressive. If you are consistent in your principles when it comes to being liberal, you are not progressive. But that's all I have for now. Thanks for listening.